I'm so excited to have you be my first guest.
I'm excited to be your first guest, and this is my first outdoor episode, and I'm such a nature lover, so this is fantastic.
You got the cicadas behind us. I don't know if the people can hear that.
Some geese.
Yeah, the now nearly extinct endangered geese.
Yeah, they used to be everywhere here.
For people who have never been to Mishawaka, South Bend area, how would you describe the geese phenomenon?
Ooh, so there used to be an island just on the other side of the river. It's called Cam Island, but I would call it Goose Island.
Okay.
There are stages around here, and it would look like Goosapalooza.
Goose, I like that.
But now they ended up taking them away and taking them to other places.
Yeah.
So I do kind of miss them, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, I don't miss their poop everywhere, but
Right.
I miss the geese.
That part.
Yeah.
The poop. I'm not gonna sugar. The poop really
It was bad.
ruined my day a lot of times.
It was really bad. Like you'd be dodging landmines on a run. It was bad.
Maybe you're like a really beautiful, perfect day. You're like, man, I'm about to go on this walk. It's like, man, I can barely make it. I can barely make my way around all this stuff. But the city, they put a lot of work in trying to make sure that at least like half of them are gone now.
Yeah, I think there's only like 30% or something like that. Like
That was
it's a crazy
reduced.
number. Yeah.
That's crazy. I'm definitely on the side of like, you know what, this is nice. But what's kind of interesting is we don't really know where they went. You know, we don't know where they went, and we also don't know if they went close enough by to just come right back.
I saw a TikTok like right after this happened, and it was a bunch of geese like marching in a straight line in Franklin, Indiana. And I'm like, did they send all of them to Franklin?
Well, I don't even know where.
That's
Where's
my
Frank?
theory. It's south of Indy.
Okay.
I think they're in Franklin.
Dang,
So that's a little far.
that is kind of far. I wonder if they have some kind of like internal navigation system to find their way back.
Back
You know,
home.
especially if they've been here for generations and they're like, you know what, this is not like Mishawaka.
Right, they migrate. So
Yeah.
I feel like they could definitely just make their way back.
That's a story to stay tuned for. Anyways, back on track, back on topic. I'm here to learn a little bit more about who you are. Um, Journalist extraordinaire, broadcast journalist extraordinaire to be specific. This is really cool, I think. Usually we are each the ones interviewing the other people.
Yeah.
So it's cool to be, I don't know, it's cool
On
to
the
be
other side.
yeah, on the other side and obviously ask me questions, you know, but I really wanted to start by just kind of hearing your entry point to journalism and broad because I mean those are two different things, right? You could be a journalist in any kind of way, but you're a broadcast TV news reporter. So I mean, why that route?
Yeah, I feel like as a journalist, you are always a journalist. Like even outside of work, I have my podcast. I write all the time. I'm always wanting to tell stories. So I think somewhat it's embedded in us, but we just have to find it. And I didn't know exactly I wanted to be a news reporter on TV. In college, I studied mass communications, and I knew I either wanted to go in media or in PR, somewhere where I could talk with people and share stories. But I wasn't like, I want to be a broadcast journalist, like from day one. So my sophomore year, I kind of went through this like identity crisis. I'm like, okay, I have 2 years of college left. I need to figure it out. Like, what am I going to do? And I'm sure you have probably experienced this too, but we're always preached like, find your why, find your purpose. But no one really tells us how to do that. So I'm like really studying myself, looking back and analyzing who I am as a person and what career I want to do. And looking back, it's like almost obvious. In high school, I started Bomber Broadcasting, which was a news for my high school.
Okay.
Before that, in grade school even, I started a school newspaper just for fun and gave it out to people.
Your own publication?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I've always loved writing. I've always loved talking to people. I loved social media. I had like 1 million views on TikTok. So I'm like looking back at this and I'm like, okay, like maybe I can make this into a career.
Yeah.
And here I am.
So you mentioned, yeah, there's always the push for the why. Did that happen in a kind of sudden aha moment? Or like you said, you said that you kind of reflected back. But I mean, how did that all kind of come together for you?
No, that's a great question. So I'm obsessed with like self-development and like
Okay.
self-help books. So like I'm reading those constantly. Like I'm always wanting to better myself and to be like a better person.
Mm.
And like my podcast, Just Life, it's talking about things that I've done and talking about other people's experience to kind of help others and become that better version of yourself.
Mm.
So at that time, that's when I first was really getting into it. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out who I am because like I don't know, and I'm having that identity crisis. So I did feel like it was like kind of a aha moment, like, okay, I can do this.
Did you feel like you had communal support in that process of like, okay, identity is kind of choppy, maybe not so put together? Did you ever go out and seek input from other people, or was it a very internalized individual experience for you?
I would say it was very individual. I felt very alone at times. This was during the COVID era.
Mm.
So going through college during COVID is like something that really needed to be studied. I hope there are going to be so many studies to come out because that was such a weird time for society. But going to college on a campus where no one is there, and I was an athlete, so the athletes had to be there. We were the only ones on campus. It was so bizarre.
Did that, do you think that helped a little bit? Kind of, because it's almost kind of like most other people didn't have an excuse to be on campus and be around their peers. Was that kind of an advantage, do you think, for you?
Honestly, no, just because no one talked to anyone. And we all had masks on. Like, I never saw anyone's face my freshman year.
Wow. Okay.
Like, I did not know what they looked like behind the mask. So I don't think I really felt a support there, and I kind of figured out by myself. But then going into the second half of my sophomore year, that's when restrictions started to get lifted and people started taking off the mask, got to meet people. And that's when I really started to make my career a priority and really try to just do what I love and felt destined to. So I ended up creating Red Hawk Media at my college. And I was doing a lot of sports media stuff. And I thought at first I wanted to do sports. And then I started getting into news, and I was like, okay, I really want to test this out to see if this is it. So I'm going to apply to like a ton of internships. I applied to around 100. I heard back from 3.
I don't think I've ever applied to 100 of anything job. That's crazy.
About 100. And the 3 I heard back from, no media, no news. I actually did work all 3 internships because I'm like, okay, I'm interested in all 3. So I worked for the city of Gary, Indiana. I was in the mayor's office as an intern. I worked for a semi-pro soccer league out of Northwest Indiana, Midwest Muskrats, and then I worked for a nonprofit, which I actually still work for today, as their social media manager.
You're currently working as a social media manager for a nonprofit,
Yes.
on top of your full-time broadcast media career.
It's
Wow.
honestly kind of like my passion project, though. Like being an athlete and dealing with like mental health issues and through injuries and stuff, I kind of wanted to give back to other athletes who maybe don't have that support and resources.
Well, so, I mean, obviously, that's a significant part of your journey. What really made a difference for you in your own athlete injury recovery process?
Oof. Well, that was honestly the darkest point of my life. And I think a lot of people maybe don't understand what going through an injury is and think it may be a little dramatic, but it's more than just being hurt. It's losing who you are. Like, as a soccer player in high school, like, I wanted to play in college. I wanted to go D1, that whole route. I tore my first one my junior year, worked my butt off to get back for my senior year. I went to like 11 college ID camps. I went to 3 in 1 week, and then it's a week before senior year. I'm at practice, doing great, scoring good. Like, I'm doing really good, and then I tear my other ACL. So that, I just felt like my whole future was thrown away. I felt like I don't know who I am if I'm not an athlete. Like, who am I? And, it was honestly the best thing that happened to me now looking back. But at that point, it just felt like my whole world was gone.
So, and that was all still within your junior year?
That was my senior year. So junior year, I tore the
into
first one.
senior, okay.
ACL recovery is about 9 months.
Okay.
It is gruesome. It is not easy. And the hardest part is mental. It's 80% mental.
For someone who's maybe experiencing an injury right now and is hearing that concept for the first time of like, wow, maybe a lot of what I'm experiencing physically is actually rooted in my mind. How did you make that sort of connection of like, actually, I can really push past this if I, you know, use some tricks and tools to kind of strengthen my mental?
Like just doing research and like learning that, I was like, okay, this does make sense because like I always look back at running. The first mile is always the hardest.
Mm.
But after you get past one, you can run three. And then there's going to be another, a hill you have to climb over. But then after that, you can run five. So there's always going to be hard points, but if you push through them, it'll become easier. And that's how an injury is. If you push past the hard parts, it will become easier.
What other areas of your life does that principle apply to, do you think? I mean, just because I don't want to assume, but it sounds like I get the impression that you apply that to more than just obviously being, in other worlds now, not just sports, but so what other ways?
I think every point of life. I think, I'm a very spiritual person, and I think every test can be turned into a testimony. I think you can turn every mess into a message, is what I always say on my podcast. Like, you are going through these battles and challenges and these hard things that suck in the moment, but you don't know that you are growing. You are becoming stronger. As Kelly Clarkson once said, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
That's how you know you're in good company. If somebody's quoting Kelly Clarkson, you're going to have a good day. I'm wrapping my head around how this kind of fits into one of the things I just notice about you right off the bat is you have a very strong character, and you have obviously a very persistent character and very disciplined. And of course, that shows up in your work. I mean, in this industry, you have to have some level of that, right, in order to make it through the day.
Yeah.
So I mean, for what we do on a day-to-day basis for broadcast journalism, how has that sort of applied in your everyday work life?
I always joke with people, like, being a news reporter or a broadcast journalist is not for the weak. It is not for the weak, man. It is hard sometimes, and I've had things happen I never pictured happening. But like I said, it does make you stronger. But in the moment, I've had breakdowns. Like, I hate my job right now. Like, this is horrible. And then, looking back now, it's like kind of funny. Like,
Yeah.
We are in the public eye, so people
Right.
will say whatever they want to you. And another thing I've learned in this job, the world is crazy. It is a crazy place out there, and yeah, it does make you stronger, but at times it is really hard.
Because it's like we're the ones who are acquiring the crazy world details live and then presenting it in a way that's not, we don't look like we just had a breakdown because of it. Right? Do you feel that way?
Yes, our old photographer Ian, he had this one quote that I always remember. He's like, "You're a duck, so when you're live, you are a duck. Your feet can be going crazy underwater, but in front of the camera, you have to be looking perfect, presenting it well. You're a duck." And I've always kept that with me. I'm like, okay, I can be running around before my live shot, but once the camera turns on, lock in.
Shout out to Ian, man. That's a
I miss
legend
Ian.
right there.
I learned so much from him.
Is he he carried around a step stool for people, right?
Me.
For you specifically. Yeah.
I actually have a step stool now, and it helps so much. Like, being so short. I did get called out the other day. Eric and I were going out to lunch, and this guy's like, "Hey, I saw you on the step stool." And I'm like, "Don't tell anyone."
You're like, okay, you gotta sign this NDA real quick. You can't just walk away with that knowledge.
What we do for television.
Man, a lot. It is a lot. And that's why I think, it's really, especially being new to the industry, I didn't have broadcast news on my radar at all. And so to come in and see someone like you handling it the way that you do, I was really impressed, because it's not only the quality of your storytelling, you come across as very concerned for ultimately the people that, the story revolves around.
And I would say the same about you too. And I think the viewers can sense that. I think they can tell you care about the story you present.
It's Thanks. It feels good to be able to be responsible with how you choose to create the story.
Mhm.
Because you could have, you know, two sets of people, one circumstance, one date, and then you give it to three, four different reporters, and they all have a different way of approaching what happened.
Yeah.
You know, and so to be able to be the one that the community is looking to say, okay, what happened according to how deep you dug, how many people you talked to, and how much thought you put into how to get me the most important information in all of it, you know?
It's also terrifying at times
Yeah,
because it's like you are the source.
yeah.
Like when I have to like Google something about it, I'm like, oh, that's my wording. That's my story.
That's a crazy effect. Well, I was just scrolling through on your Google homepage feed the other day, and saw a story. I was like, I saw that. First of all, I saw the headline. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then my brain did like a double take. So it is. You're right. Sometimes I don't know if you've had this effect where you're like looking for information, and you're like, oh yeah, that's all the up to date information is me.
It's from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a wild thing. It is a kind of cool torch to be able to kind of hold within a specific community. What has it meant to you to kind of specifically be doing that in Michiana?
You know, it really kind of opened my eyes of how important news is because, like, the public trusts me with their news, with their stories. And JP and I were actually kind of talking about this yesterday. Like, people will literally come to you because they trust you.
Mm.
And that has really just opened my eyes to how important the news industry is, especially local news.
Mm.
And it's kind of scary to see how the world is moving away toward local news. Like, it's going to more social media and
Mm.
like I said earlier in the episode, like almost everyone can be a journalist. Everyone has a
Right.
camera these days. They have
Right.
their phone. They can just pull it up. And the credibility is just not there. And
Mm.
with us, we have to have those credible sources. And I think a lot of people don't understand that because they've never been in the news industry.
Right.
And that terrifies me.
Mm. Well, yeah, you bring up a good point. It's an interesting time, especially with things like AI, right?
Oh
Like
my goodness.
one of my good friends is an editor, and he's facing an industry that's really pushing artificial intelligence just to curate media without the help of a real life editor. And it's this similar thing is happening in news where it's almost like how can we curate information without so much, I don't think, support for the idea that people on the ground going to collect the information themselves has real value.
Absolutely. And AI terrifies me. Like, it is so scary. I'm also
Right.
mad because the only time I've really used it is when, like, that trend of making your own doll. I don't know if you remember. It was like a Barbie. It was like, make me into a Barbie. And mine did me so dirty. So
Oh.
I'm, like, still mad about it. But no, it's really scary. And, like, some of the videos are so real.
Mm.
There was a trend not too long ago with bunnies bouncing on a trampoline.
Right.
And for a split second, I'm like, that's real. That's real. And then after like the fifth time of watching it, I'm like, oh no. I saw one bunny get absorbed by another bunny. It was AI.
Can't even tell.
Mm-mm. And that's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, it's a whole world too. One of my favorite stories that I did, I don't know if you remember, there was a pair of guys actually from the area, from the South Bend area, who took artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and Google Lens, Google Glasses,
Yes.
and they use these glasses to pull up any kind of information that's available on the web. If you have a digital footprint, they can look at you, ask their glasses a question, and they get an answer.
Yes, I have nightmares about that story. It reminds me of a Black Mirror episode.
Right?
Like that is, and it's real. Like that's crazy.
And how do we? I mean,
And actually, I want to bring this up too.
Yeah.
This happened not too long ago. I had a story about this like thick report, and I read the entire report. It took me hours to read it, and I did the story to the best of my capability. It's a dayside turn, so like I didn't get too deep into it. But it's talking about this place that's it used to be a hospital, and it's abandoned now. Portage Manor. I'm sorry, Portage Manor. And then the commissioner, after the story, sent me a link of an AI generated piece of a reporter sharing that story. It's like, check this out. And it was like a radio show talking about the entire report, my story. And first of all, it
Wow.
kind of was like a slap in the face. It's like, wow, AI can do my job.
So I guess the question is, how does an AI develop something like intuition, or how does
Mhm.
AI develop something like empathy?
Yeah.
Which all really go into. I know maybe people probably see us on TV as stone faced reporters, but obviously we're emotional, and
Yeah.
that's a part of that's a type of information, right? You've got
Yeah.
intellectual information, you've got physical, there's all kinds. So moving forward, how would you pitch to somebody who's like, yeah, we could do this with AI?
No, absolutely not. Like, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in like broadcast journalism, but like, it's just not a human.
Mm.
And it's not going to be on the ground, like in the middle of a scene looking for information. It's just going to pull things from the web that like is already out there. And that's not news. We have a poster in the newsroom. I don't know if you've seen it, but I always look at it every single day. It says, news is what is hidden. Everything
Mm.
else is publicity.
Mm.
So if it's out there, that's just, coverage. But news is what's hidden, and that's what needs to be uncovered. And that's
That's a
why
really good
AI
one.
will never be able to replace us, because we are trying to get underneath the surface and trying to dig and find that information. And going back to empathy, my favorite stories I've done are not me talking in my writing. It's the interviews I do with people and them showing emotion.
Mm.
Sometimes it's not even words. Sometimes it's crying or a smile. Like,
Right.
it's the emotions.
It's a strange experience, right? Being Because sometimes you are close to someone on a day that's really terrible for them. They're going through something that they probably never been through before, and so they're responding to it. And then we're trying to sort of get the information out there, while also sometimes you have the opportunity, you give the person a hug, and sometimes it's yeah, I don't know, it's a unique environment to me.
I think that's something not talked about either. Like, you don't learn in college that you're going to be with people who just lost a loved one.
Right.
Like, I was with a family, and they were like some of the nicest people I've ever met. They just lost their entire family barn in a fire, and they lost some of their animals. And they were just distraught. They were so upset. And the one girl, she was a 10-year 4-H'er, and she lost her animals, and she got them a week before. And it's like, I hate to see that happen to one's family, and now I have to like tell their story. But like I mentioned before this episode, I don't get burnt out, and this is honestly, I think, part of my mission and my purpose in this industry is to find the light even in the darkest stories. And 9 out of 10 times it's possible.
I want you to say more about that, because I think that requires, it requires a lot of different things, a lot of different skills and intentions. What would you say is sort of at the forefront of your value system or intentions when it comes to trying to do that? Because that's not an easy thing to do.
No, and sometimes it takes a lot of work to do it. Um, I'm going to go back to that story because I just mentioned it. So the 4-H'er lost some of her animals. 3 of her sheep survived.
Okay.
So I did a follow-up months later of her showing those sheep. She got grand champion. And that is the happy. And sometimes it does take a while. But just last week, these are 2 perfect examples. I did one story about a high school in Michigan City. They had to close down school. Actually, it was all of their schools. They had to close down because a thief stole more than 20 catalytic converters from their school buses. And like, first of all, that's a crazy story in itself. But I ended up finding out that a school like 2 hours away donated their buses, no questions asked. Like, that is incredible. Other schools helping another school that is like in a bad situation.
Right.
And then once they did that, other schools started. So they started something. And then the other one, I went to Niles to this barbershop. This is actually one of our coworkers' barbershop, which is kind of funny, but amazing person. He was a pastor. His daughter was adorable. She's going to be a cop. She's in the academy. Just wonderful people. However, their barbershop was targeted by vandalism, and they spray painted the N-word on the barbershop.
Yeah.
So that was really sad, just knowing these people, getting to know them. They were awesome. I'm like, this sucks that this happened to these people. And the good part of that story is the community was right behind him, rallying behind him, and now a mural is going to be on the side of the building.
Oh, they're gonna do a mural.
So see, happy part to the bad story.
Right. Man, and that so there's always so much. It's really cool, kind of being able to know the details of the stories you're mentioning, because there's always also so many layers to the story. Like, wasn't the Michigan City that was like first day of school?
It was
or
1 week.
1 week.
Yeah.
So it's like the timing of that, right? There are always so many, yeah, I don't know, so many crazy details that go behind that.
It's so crazy how this area is always involved in stuff too. Like, you think of South Bend just being a small town in Indiana, but there are so many connections
Right.
and so many things that come back to here. And that, the old saying, it's a small world after all, or, it really is. Like, it's a small world. It may seem big, but just one story that stands out to me is the terrorist attack in New Orleans.
Mm,
We were down there for the game,
right.
national championship, and Bennett had to shift from sports to cover that.
Right. Right. Yeah, because you're always responding to the moment, no matter what you have planned, no matter how sort of, yeah, sometimes what you've already planned is really important, but depending on what's developing right now, you know, people really need to know exactly what's happening in the moment. And I think that is something that I've really learned to appreciate about broadcast news, and really learned to appreciate how much value there is in the long term and getting that out, quickly, and being there for the moment. I kind of want to circle back to a little bit of what you mentioned, which is that there is a lot of what we could call sort of interconnectivity in this area, right? Like you said, the catalytic converters are gone, more buses are on the way. Um, the graffiti's painted, now there's a mural on the way. Uh, what has been sort of maybe your favorite part about getting that experience in this area, and what are maybe some other ways that you've seen that sort of community tight knit resourcefulness come into play?
Yeah, I'm like I said, every single one of my stories almost. There's somehow like the community will either come up and help out somehow, or people are giving back and honoring someone. One of my favorite stories I've ever done was around Thanksgiving, and this wonderful family again, their daughter passed away with cancer, and they said before she passed away, she would always take the leftovers and give them away to homeless people who maybe need a meal. So every year, to honor their daughter, they give away free meals. And it's just those stories that like are so important because it shows there's still good out there. And it's inspiring to other people. And that's really kind of like my basis to the first question, like why do you do this? It's to inspire goodness to go out into the world. Because once you see some goodness, I feel like it's contagious.
Yeah. When you were talking about, I want to kind of shift gears to get you to imagine your best case scenario in the future. Obviously, you're crushing it where you're at now and what you're doing now, and so you have a lot of leverage, in my opinion, in terms of what you can wind up doing. Um, so, how would you use that? What would that be like for you in the future? You mentioned doing your own lifestyle show.
Yeah, I would love to have my own show someday, highlight these amazing stories because there are so many stories out there that like don't get any attention. And that's the thing too. The best stories and the best people, they don't want the attention. But that's what makes it a great story is because they're just doing it for, you know, others. They don't want the attention, but that's what makes a great story.
That is a kind of common theme in sort of the hidden gems, is that they're hidden because those people don't want to be in the spotlight. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't like to narrow my options. So I'm kind of just waiting to see where life takes me.
Mm.
Of course, I'll have my podcast. I do that just for this reason too, sharing people's stories because, life's hard enough. We're better together. So why not help each other out? Um, but I could see myself doing a million things.
Mm.
Like I have so many goals and yeah, I'm just kind of waiting for life to do its thing.
I want to I want you to kind of describe how you see two dynamics that I see that's at work in you. One, you're ambitious and focused and streamlined, but also you're coming across as very open, very fluid. I mean, is that something you even notice about yourself, of that tension?
Kind of, because there's that trend. It's like type A and type B.
Okay.
I feel like I'm type Z. Like,
Okay, yeah.
because I am very type A. Like, I like organization. I have my planner with me.
Yeah.
I like being organized, but also like very go with the flow. It's like, we can only control so much, and you got to be ready for everything. My dad always says this, and I think it's so good. It's um, adapt, overcome. Wait, no, there's one more word in there. He hasn't said it in a while. Um, improvise, adapt, and overcome.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I always think about that. It's like, okay, like, yeah, this is happening. Like, you're in the mess right now, but you're going to have to figure it out. So,
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned earlier spirituality is really important to you. I think one of the things that I've really zeroed in as an interest for me personally is noticing how, regardless of your sort of spiritual medium or your religion, or how you express your spirituality, there are ways to sort of find common ground with people.
yeah.
I don't know if this career, or maybe even just other parts of your life, have helped you to do that, because obviously in the job, you kind of have to do that sometimes, because you're dealing with people with all kinds of different viewpoints, and trying to figure out how to sort of like synthesize and communicate, maybe even sometimes similarity. Yeah, so I don't know, how do you see that sort of happening?
And one thing with journalism too, like, you have to be unbiased. Like, you have to
Right.
go in, and you cannot have sides, and that it's hard sometimes. Like, sometimes you're like, okay, I know this guy just did really bad things and he's wanted for murder, but I have to hear his side.
Right.
I have to give him, like, in just like the judicial system. I have a minor in political science and pre-law.
Okay.
And that always fascinates me. I could never be a lawyer, but that world does fascinate me, because I'm like, innocent until proven guilty. So you have to hear everyone's side, because there are cases where they are innocent.
Right.
But I think the one common factor to just be able to talk to anyone is just to have love. Love is the key.
Well, and I mean, it's kind of all connected, right? In terms of like the conversation around AI and where we're headed technologically. Do you feel like you've developed an approach to people that maybe you wouldn't have had if you weren't sort of practicing that muscle every day in the business?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard sometimes when people are very mean and just come at you, and you have to think back, like, maybe they're having a really bad day, and I'm just their human punching bag, because I'm there and they can say something. Especially like the Facebook Lives. I've touched on this on my podcast, but sometimes they can be brutal. But I have to look back, like, maybe they're insecure about that and they're throwing it onto me. Like, I think a lot of people throw their insecurities because they don't know how to handle them onto other people. And
Yeah.
I've kind of accepted that, and it's like, okay, I will be that human punching bag that if they need it.
And yeah, that's a lot of courage. I asked you to think about a metaphor that kind of fits how you view life. A lot of times language can kind of be how we sort of isolate certain facts and maybe hide or minimize others. And you use life as a journey. So I kind of want to, I guess, wrap us up by elaborating on what that does for you sort of in the day-to-day and the big picture of your life.
Yeah, so I think that kind of encompassed this whole episode. Life is a journey. It's going to be messy sometimes. No one promised you it's going to be easy. Maybe for some people it is easy. Maybe they hit the lottery or on a boat, whatever. But I promise you, they have problems too. Everyone has problems behind the scenes and are dealing with things that you do not know about. And that's just part of the human experience. So life is that journey, and we're better together. Why not help each other out? Why not be compassionate and love for others? Because there's enough bad in the world. There's enough wars going on and enough negativity. Be that light, because, like I said, it's contagious.
Yeah. Along that, one last question with this. So sometimes, life is a journey. For someone who is maybe maybe that's a fresh metaphor for them, or maybe they're interested in kind of taking that metaphor in their own lives a little bit further. What are some of the sort of um, equipment items, so to speak, in the backpack as you're on that journey that you would consider to be like essential go-to necessary items to keep with you?
So, keep that one. Okay, this is another phrase I really like. Life is happening for you, not to you.
Mm.
Because, you know, it's for you to grow. It's for you to become a better human. We're all growing. And sometimes you have to get out of your comfort zone.
Right.
We're stuck in here, and like sometimes you gotta have that push. It might be painful, but you are going to grow. Just like I said earlier, turn that message into a message. That's another one I really think you should just keep on your mind. We all have problems, but it's kind of what you do in those situations to show how you will turn out. It's kind of, you have to do the work too, though. Like you can't just ignore it and just wait it out. Sometimes you have to do hard things. So I think those are the main points in that.
Life is happening for you,
Not to you.
not to you. Well, thanks, Cicely.
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy we got to do
I
this.
know, this is great.
Yeah, I feel like this is best case scenario. This went really well.
It was great.
Okay, well, we're gonna sign off and say goodbye.